Hey, what's going on? This is the Body Punch Podcast, and my name is Naz. Let's talk about Cory Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw. What a UFC fight night card coming down the pipe. This weekend, we have Cory Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw going at it. Cory Sandhagen going on an amazing run with two spectacular knockouts in his last fights against top competition, Marlon Moraes and Frankie Edgar. TJ Dillashaw coming back from his suspension after fighting Henry Cejudo in Brooklyn, New York in 2019. He was the headliner for that card. He was flagged for performance enhancing drugs, EPO, and he said that it was due to the drastic weight cut that he had to do to make that 125-pound limit. Before that, we know the illustrious career of TJ Dillashaw, beating the likes of Cody Garbrandt twice, John Lineker, and the list goes on. Just the top of the division, most people's eyes, one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. And he's up there with the Dominic Cruzes and the Uriah Fabers at that bantamweight division, being one of the greatest of all time. Using his slick striking abilities mixed with some of his wrestling capabilities. He's also known for his jiu-jitsu skills somewhat, but just the unorthodox style that he has at some points, switching stances back and forth, training with Bang Muay Thai out there in Denver, Colorado. He's just a special, phenomenal athlete. And the reason why this fight is so special, not only will we have these two top guys going at it, I'm going through Cory Sandhagen's list of competition that he's faced, and he's had an amazing run. If you just look at his Wikipedia, it's literally all green with only 2 losses on it. So this guy, Cory Sandhagen, is special, and it looks like he's got another gear that he's achieved after his loss, after the Aljamain Sterling. That was a really quick rear naked choke, as we all remember. It really put the brakes on Cory Sandhagen for a while, but then he came back and got that TKO spinning back kick against Marlon Moraes. And it looked like it was like a glancing shot that hit the top of Marlon Moraes' head, and it knocked him out. And then the flying knee against Frankie Edgar. Just the demeanor that he goes into these fights with before the Aljamain Sterling fight. He talked about this, which was he was just going in there to compete. And then after the loss against Aljamain Sterling, which was such a devastating loss, people thought that he would truck Aljamain Sterling. Some people thought in their eyes, many people know the skills that Aljo possesses, but they just thought from the winning streak that Cory Sandhagen was on, that he would just run over Aljamain Sterling. But Aljo came in there and sunk in that rear naked choke as quick as possible. They were super dry. It was the first round right at the beginning, and it really put a halt on Cory Sandhagen for a while. That loss was in 2020. It was on June 6th. Then he came back October 10th, 2020, avenged his loss, but not against Aljo, against Marlon Moraes, and he did it in spectacular fashion. And then back to the mindset, after that Aljo fight, he went in there to knock people out. That was his MO. That was what he was going in there to do. It wasn't just a point score or win a fight. And I think that mentality switch happened because we all know that Cory Sandhagen at the beginning of his athletic career was looking for a basketball career. And after figuring out that he wasn't tall enough or whatever it may be, not possessing the skills, he moved to fighting. But I think that that's what we see with most athletes that transition into MMA or maybe even boxing that we've seen in these celebrity fights. But that transition is sometimes hard because the athlete's mind, UFC fighters, MMA fighters, everybody's an athlete. But coming from basketball or some other team sport, it's all about winning the games by points, and it's a different mindset that goes into it. And to have the mindset to put people unconscious right when you're getting into the octagon or the ring or where the wrestling mat, maybe it's just a difference. It's just you got to turn that switch on, and some people that switch is just not possible to turn on. You have to be a fighter at heart, and Cory Sandhagen is, and he was able to turn that back on. And he's going to be an amazing barometer for TJ Dillashaw as well. If Cory Sandhagen wins this, obviously he's got to be fighting for the belt, or he's got to be right up there at the top of that bantamweight division, which he already is. And I think he's taking this fight for the name recognition that TJ Dillashaw brings. And after getting popped for the performance-enhancing drugs, we don't know what kind of TJ Dillashaw we're going to have. The TJ Dillashaw that we had, like I said before, was one of the greatest bantamweight fighters in the world. And like Cody Garbrandt, his ex-teammate, talked about, and so many people from that team Alpha Male, that just might be, they might just be mad at him, but they've talked about how TJ Dillashaw could be taking these performance-enhancing drugs he could have been taking them for a very long time. So we don't know what kind of TJ Dillashaw we're going to get. I'm going to keep on repeating that in this podcast. But it could be, the fact is that he could have been taking some sort of performance-enhancing drug throughout his career. It may not have been the one that he got caught with, which was helping him cut down to that weight and made him look like he was on death's door almost, because he was so skinny coming into that Henry Cejudo fight. It was just like, I didn't understand how his head was balancing on his body. That's how skinny TJ Dillashaw looked. And on top of that, he's already cutting to 135 normally. And for him to go to 125, it was even more of a stretch in my eyes. So if he's been taking some sort of performance-enhancing drug for a while now, how will that impact him coming into this fight? Also, even if he took it only for the Henry Cejudo fight, maybe that mindset is going to affect him coming into this Cory Sandhagen fight. It's just something that this is just a good barometer. This is where we see where TJ Dillashaw is landing in his career. From going from all the amazing wins and then almost having his name dragged through the mud because he got caught for this performance enhancing drug. It's a tough way to go, honestly, but he was cheating. It was, it's just hard to say. And on top of that, I think it was harder for TJ Dillashaw because of the amount of press that he was doing by going on the Joe Rogan podcast, by going on the different podcast networks and all that kind of stuff, where he talked about how much he measured his body, how much science he was using in these fights, meaning his head coach was measuring everything that he did. I remember one interview that he did with Joe Rogan. They were talking about, I think it was the iron in his blood, and it might be due to the fact, because of all of his tattoos that he has, that might have put more metallic or metals into his bloodstream. It was very interesting to hear about. But to talk about all that scientific advancements that he was using systems that would monitor his heart and optimal times to train and when to fight and when to sleep. All that kind of gets thrown out the window after you pop for something like this. And even for TJ Dillashaw's teammates, everybody there, not everybody that's in a camp like that is going to be doing anything like this. And it's just tough for the other people training with him. It just puts a bad rap on everybody. Even Bang Muay Thai that I was talking about earlier, they might get a bad rap as well. And the funny thing is that none of them have really parted ways with TJ Dillashaw. I think they understood what the test was, fighting Henry Cejudo at 125, and they understood what it might have taken, because if he didn't use what he used, he would have never made it to that weight limit. It's a very tough thing to talk about, because it's basically a teeter-totter thing. It's obviously it's not good. You don't want to see anybody take it. If everybody's agreed that this is the way that they want to fight, then having someone cheat like this and get caught is just tough to see, and especially with someone so decorated like TJ Dillashaw. But give credit to him. If there was one way that you want a fighter to go about announcing something like this or going through something like this, it's the way that TJ Dillashaw did. I think the first couple weeks he was on the Chael Sonnen podcast talking about this openly. He talked about it on social media and how his wife didn't even know. And the tough part is that his kid is going to find out later on, and talking about all this kind of stuff. I think this is the best way to go about this kind of stuff. It's going to happen in the sport, in my opinion. If there's loopholes to be found, some people are going to try and use those loopholes. So we'll see. This is going to be a great test to see where TJ Dillashaw is at in his career. This could be a real point in Cory Sandhagen's career, where he cements his position at the top of the bantamweight division. But I just wanted to talk about this fight. We'll talk about the actual card itself. I think this is a great low-key fight night. We have fighters like Darren Elkins, The Damage, and Miranda Maverick. We got Mickey Gall on this one. We got Aspen Ladd coming back from her injury. We have a bunch of fun fighters on this card, and from top to bottom, from the prelims to the main event. So I just really wanted to quickly talk about TJ Dillashaw and Cory Sandhagen being such an important fight in this bantamweight division. This could either bring back the old head, the old OG of the division, the person that dominated this division at one point, or it could give rise to someone and cement their spot in this bantamweight division, which the bantamweight division, you could argue, is up there as one of the toughest in the UFC right now and the toughest in MMA in general. So this is going to be a great fight. This is going to be a great UFC fight night this Saturday. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you could like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube, that'd be amazing. If you can listen to the podcast on the different podcast networks, that'd be great. And give 5 stars and give me a review on there. And on YouTube, post a comment. Let's chat about this. What do you think about TJ Dillashaw coming back? How do you think Cory Sandhagen can nullify TJ Dillashaw's movement? Let's talk about this in the comment section. I really appreciate you taking the time again out of your day to listen to me talk. And this is just fun to dissect. This has been the Body Punch Podcast. My name is Naz. Bye.